Okay, it's a little spicy again, and I'm just going to give you a little brief overview of James Redfield, the author. His first book, most famous, was The Celestine Prophecy, but in his subsequent books, he talked a little bit about, well, let's call them holograms, that certain, let's call them creator beings, create in a separate space, a separate dimension from a lot of other beings. And let's say that these creator beings, that is, beings that can create a hologram, can create all kinds of things, physical things, let's call them. Okay, let's call me a creator. And what I've done is I've created a nice little river, and I've got some Canada geese over there, okay? So let's just say I created this hologram, and I'm showing you the hologram using my smartphone. Okay, so this is what Redfield is saying happens to creator beings. Now, what he says happens is that creator beings often forget who they are. They forget that they create their own reality, and they get stuck because of that. They basically replay the same thing they created 10 minutes ago, now, and again, and again, and again. And they keep themselves locked in a hologram that disempowers them, because they don't know they are creating the hologram, because it's not conscious. What's the difference between unconscious mind and subconscious mind and conscious mind? Conscious mind, we all have a pretty good idea. It's basically, well, I'm here and now, and I'm looking with my eyes, and I'm seeing, and I'm hearing, I'm feeling some wind. We would call that conscious mind. Is conscious mind creating what I'm seeing? No. It's simply taking in what is already here. So, the creator part of what we are, creator beings, is something that we can't even figure if it's subconscious mind or unconscious mind. Unconscious mind sounds stupid. In other words, like if you see an unconscious person, they're completely out of it. And if you've ever been unconscious, you know that when you wake up from unconsciousness, it was just a black hole. Nothing was happening. So as far as you know, in unconscious mind, whatever's going on isn't aware of itself. Subconscious mind, a sub-lieutenant is someone who reports to the lieutenant. So it's a person who is working for someone else, and what they're doing is pretty much they're doing their thing on their own. So a subconscious mind is, maybe you can ask it or communicate with the subconscious mind under certain circumstances. I mean, if you're a lieutenant, you might pick up the phone to phone your sub-lieutenant to find out what's going on. But if your sub-lieutenant is off in another office, you might not know what they're doing. So the creation of the hologram, if I could use muscle testing, I would use muscle testing to tell you if it's in the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind, or maybe somebody else stole it from me completely, and they've got control of my creative abilities. Why can't I muscle test using this body anymore? I don't know. but I can't. Something has taken away my body's response. Now, if you were listening to Dr. Hawkins, when he was doing muscle testing, he said you had to have an integrous reason for testing whatever it was that you wanted to test. What would be a non-integrous an integrous question? It's the same root, it must be Latin, integrity. So if someone's in their integrity, it means they're being I'm going to leave that with you. What is integrity? Someone who acts professional? Someone who keeps their agreements? Something that's not an integrity would someone who misleads you into making agreements with them. So, someone who is not being honest with you, makes an agreement with you, and later on you find out that this person was misleading you the whole time. Are you still bound by that agreement? You'd have to be a human lawyer or an attorney to tell me what man's laws say about it. But from a spiritual perspective, if something has misled you or coerced you using force, I would tell you that agreement is not a valid agreement. What if you did it to someone else? What if you misled someone else and made agreements with them? Would those be valid for the other person? No. What if both of you were misled into making an agreement? I mean, how many different layers, how many ways do you want to play this game? Why are we talking about trying to figure out why do we have the word integrity? If you were watching Star Trek, if they're talking about integrity of the ship's hull, it would mean integrity means the ship's hull is there and it's doing its job, its function, which is to separate you from outer space, maybe to keep the air in the ship, to keep other things from, like, meteorites or something from getting into the ship where they could run into your person. So integrity means it's that meaning. Why do we keep going with this? It's because Dr. Hawkins of consciousness research invented this word, integrous. He coined the term. He didn't say integrity, he said integrous in his books. Why? Well, he needed a new word with a new meaning. But he said if you were going to muscle test it, something you had to calibrate over 200 on the scale of human consciousness. You had to have an integrous question. And then he used to go and check to see if he had permission to ask from God. Does God give you permission for this? And apparently God has taken away my ability to muscle test. Well, Dr. Hawkins is not here, and I can't ask him these questions. But if he was here, I would ask him those exact questions. The reason that I don't muscle test for you here on this channel is because we want you to do your own muscle testing. use your own ways to determine things. Because if I muscle test it, maybe I'm faking. And it doesn't mean anything to you. And that's basically the whole thing with Dr. Hawkins. You know, you basically go and take him as a teacher, and he muscle testing all these things, and he gets this. And he gives it to you. How are you going to know if that was all a made-up stunt or not? You're going to have to experiment. And one of the things that you would be encouraged to do is to learn to muscle test. And once you muscle test all kinds of stuff and you got your information and it gets taken away from you, then what? Well, I did muscle test quite a bit of stuff, and pretty much what I got, I've thrown it all away. Because if my ability to muscle test can be taken away by someone called God, then maybe it was all fixed from the start, and whoever's playing God, you know, is making it seem like some religious thing, you know, like, you're so small and God is so big, and you'll never know the mind of God. So, you know, tough titty for you. So, because I don't trust humans. And even if a human starts talking about God, God doesn't talk to me. If God is talking to someone else, then I'm going, there's been a lot of people who've acted in my life, you know. So, in the end, is integrity something that we're concerned with? That's not what I wanted to say. Why did I want to say it? Because it like comes in. This is why it's really kind of like, you know, you can present an opinion. This is your opinion, but it's really not your opinion, because, you know, it comes from unconscious mind. You're not conscious of where these thoughts come from, and you're like, so this is my thought, I said it, or whatever. It's like, you said it, but, you know, why don't you just let it go and say, well, you know, I'm not invested in what I said. Why? Because you don't know where it came from. It comes out your so-called mouth. And, you know, if you take ownership of everything you say, then you can be led by whoever it is that's, you know, generating whatever it is you're going to say with all the emotions. In essence, you know, you're an actor, and the scriptwriter is using telepathy to send you the script you're going to say, and the feelings and all the emotions of the body. So you as an actor have become, you know, like a voodoo doll for a scriptwriter somewhere else. Sorry, that's the way it was when you were born. And getting back to James Redfield and his book, The 10th Insight, where people are creating a hologram that they're living in, and they don't even know they're creating it. That's just what Redfield said in his book. Is it true? Maybe some other beings have got the ability to create things for you, and you just experience them. Maybe you want to have the abilities to create on your own. If other beings can have them, then what makes me inferior to them? If I had a good answer for that, I could wrap up this whole talk, and you'd have the whole business. But the scriptwriter who keeps this voodoo doll going doesn't want you to know right now, so tune in tomorrow, and